All right, welcome back to the Lookout Podcast, special podcast here with Mr. Justin Kaber, who's fresh, well, not really that fresh, but off a White House tour.
Yeah.
The Kalispell Banquet, and gearing up for fire season, Wildland Fire season 2026. I almost said 27.
Yeah, back again. Just got done with the old putt and pull.
Yeah.
We won high trap team, but apparently got out golfed. So.
Dang it, man.
Yeah.
Tough year.
Couldn't ask for a better day though.
Oh, dude, the weather's perfect, man. I mean,
Yeah.
a little cool in the morning, but yeah, great showing there too. And I think this is one of the bigger numbers. I think talking to CJ like that we've had.
Seems like it. Yeah, they had a lot of teams, a lot of people. So.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
And for folks listening, we're actually at the putt and pull currently. So if you hear a little background noise, that's actually CJ talking on the mic.
Yeah.
Giving away the prizes right now.
Yeah, giving away prizes and going to kick off the auction, raise some money for the foundation. So should be great.
Always great. Speaking of the foundation, man, you're fresh off the Kalispell Banquet from last weekend, man. How'd it go?
Yeah, last week, man, we killed it.
Oh, dude.
You know, our banquet keeps growing. I know you were up there a couple years ago with the trailer.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Honor too.
Yeah, you know, last year was pretty big for us, but you know, this year was the biggest event we've had so far. So we were just about I don't know. I don't know the final numbers yet exactly, but somewhere around just under 700 people.
Dude. Yeah, I heard it was amazing, man.
Yeah, just a huge community outpouring and a lot of businesses, a lot of local businesses, a lot of volunteer help.
And that's what I love about that banquet so
yeah.
much, dude, is that it's like you got the fire folks in there, run the stations. So, like, you got this cool, you know, like, just melding of, you know, the community members and the fire folks. So you got, like, the people that we serve there to all get together in this cool evening to raise money for the foundation, to, in the end, raise money for us wildland folks.
Yeah.
And, dude, it's so awesome.
Yeah, that's the way I look at it. We had about 50 volunteers, and like I said, all these community members, you know, they're there for our families. You know, it's a fun event and all that, but, you know, realistically, the reason they're there is to raise money for our families.
Yeah.
So that's really humbling when you think about it like that. So just a tremendous amount of sponsors, supporters, partners, and, you know, I'm still working on the final numbers, but it's by far our biggest year yet.
Yeah.
To where we're going to be well above $200,000.
And correct me if I'm
to
wrong.
the foundation.
Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong. That's the biggest. You guys are the biggest contributor to the foundation, right?
You know, for chapter wise, for sure. I mean,
Yeah.
there's obviously some big corporate sponsors which are amazing too.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
from a
coolest and
chapter,
stuff.
yeah, there's several that are really big. You know, obviously CJ here in Missoula and his whole team with, you know, just the amazing team that they've got built up, and then Sam Percy down in the Oregon chapter. He's always he's been the big dog for years. So
Shout out to Sam. Thanks, buddy.
Yep.
That's
yep.
awesome, man.
Sam's awesome. I got to meet Sam this year at the gala down at the foundation in October. We went and helped the main foundation run their first ever gala.
Oh, dude.
And so that was awesome. But yeah, the Flathead chapter, we're fortunate enough that we're bringing in an incredible amount of money. So we're pretty proud of that.
Oh, it's so cool, man. I appreciate the hell out of you. And like, I think every wildland firefighter does, man. And the foundation, everybody, you know, it's cool because it's such a good family. You know, it's like last weekend you had the banquet, this weekend we had the putt and pull, and then you, like you said, you got the organ thing going on, and is there like a ripping lips and something?
Yeah, he's behind Rippin' Lips.
Oh,
They've
that's
been
the
going
organ?
for like 10 years, and he does a bunch
Yeah.
of stuff. You know, he's they do what are they calling it? They're doing a gala now. Ashes to Honor, I believe. They've got a really cool name, but
That is cool, man.
doing it down in Oregon. I know he's selling tickets now for, I think his event's in the beginning of May,
Oh, very cool.
somewhere like that. So
Hey,
yeah,
folks, look out for that one. It's coming
Yeah.
up.
yeah.
And then I was gonna ask you about the gala at or the gala at how do you say it? Gala? Yeah.
You know,
Gala?
I've heard it both ways.
Yeah.
I'm not super fancy, to be honest.
I'm
but
with
yeah.
you, dude. Like, yeah, it's like the firefighter
Gala.
consortium. It's like people call it consortium, people call it consortium.
Yeah.
I've heard both. I have no
The
idea
Met
which one
Gala,
it is.
Gala. I
Yeah,
don't know.
yeah, the gala. I'll go with gala. Like I didn't know anything about that, man. Was that pretty awesome?
It was, yeah. They did it in October, so a few of us came down, and you know, basically they had seen how much success we've been having on the Flathead chapter and kind of the way we've structured our things. It's not like we invented the banquet sort of thing, but they did it right. They super fancy. A whole bunch of big corporate sponsors came in, and so yeah, Sam and I and you know their whole team at the foundation Burke and Dina and Casey and just a bunch of folks are down there. Lane, just working away. Eric, there's just a bunch of them down there that are working hard, and they put together really. I mean, it was fantastic. It was beautifully done, and I'm not sure how much they raised that night, but it was a lot.
That's cool,
as
man.
well. So yeah, it was fun to get down there and kind of be tied in with the main foundation to make a difference from that end as well.
Yeah, and as long as with as much time as me and you have put in with Wildland Fire, like when I started, man, none of this was going on really.
No.
You know, like the foundation was around, but it wasn't like as well known. Like everyone knew about it, right? Like
Sure.
but like there wasn't like the events and stuff. So like this is amazing, man, to get everybody together and get the community together. I think everyone likes being part of something, you know, especially something as important as like wildland firefighters. So like these big corporations, I think, love to help us out, man.
You know, what I've found is the public has wildland firefighters' backs and their family. Sometimes as fire folks, we hear, you know, kind of the squeaky wheel and people that complain about this or that, you know, but, you know, the community that surrounds us, that is generally the, you know, the silent majority, they have our back.
Yes.
And they show up, and you know, really we're relationship focused. You know, the money's second for us. It's the community is showing up, and these businesses, and whether or not you can donate a pair of socks or come in as one of the bigger sponsors, to me, it's all great. It doesn't matter.
It all rates out the same, right?
Yeah. We just want you to come there, and they're just showing up and taking their time, and kind of like the punt and pull tonight. There's just people coming, and they're here for our families. So that's pretty darn cool.
Oh, it's so cool. And especially, like you said, like the different things, because they're, you know, you guys are raising more money up there, and there's just like bigger, I don't know what you say, but like you said, bigger items maybe. And that's like a credit to you guys. You guys are doing an awesome job of doing the community outreach and getting everybody involved. And that's what makes it so cool, is like, it doesn't feel stuffy. Like you go to the banquet, and it doesn't feel like, you know, like when people hear the word banquet, even me, like I'm thinking like suit and tie, like am I going to be, you know, underdressed? And then, you know, I show up and it's just folks having a good time, man. Like, I think I told this the last time we talked, but like, you guys had a side-by-side for auction, and I was just like picking someone's brain, and it might have been Borg. Like I was just like tying with Borg and saying, hey, I hadn't actually like formally met him. And so I was like talking to him, and then one of his guys off the, you know, Flathead shots was talking to a guy and getting a raffle ticket for the side-by-side. And he's like, yeah, man, I think he said, like, give me 5. I don't care if I win this thing, dude. I'm just here to support you guys. I'm like, that is super cool. And it looked like just some rancher dude, you know, like come up. I was like, this is cool.
We hear about that. We hear that sort of thing all the time, you know, because we attend a lot of community functions, you know, during the winter, obviously, for obvious reasons. We're a little busy in the summer. But and that's what people will come up, and they'll give us like $2. And they're like, this is all I can afford. And thank you very much. We got wildland firefighters' backs, and it's really refreshing to hear that sort of thing. So
refreshing. And for folks listening, like Justin, you had mentioned just a second ago, it's like, as fire folks, like we've had a lot of times, like you got like, you know, especially if you show up on a scene that's going, right? You could be like working 16 plus hours in that first, you know, 24 hours or whatever shift that you're doing. And like, so you're working your ass off, and then all of a sudden, like you run into somebody that, it's something bad happened, or they're scared. So then they come off super rough, and you're like, I'm working my ass off here, man. Like, I don't know what you want from me. And like, but you said it's like the smallest, like 1% maybe of like the population, but that's a big chunk of the interaction you get when you're on the fire line, because that's who you're dealing with, because you're trying to help save their house, and they're at a 10 for like stress. You know?
When you know, like when a lot of us have fought a lot of fires for a lot of years and been to a lot of those situations, and when it's coming towards your house, you know, there's a huge stress there for obvious reasons. I mean, families and houses and cars and possessions and stuff. So
stuff that you can't get back if that fire gets your house.
Yeah, you know? and we just see that so much now, that we're losing so many of those houses, and we're obviously there to help. So you got to give those people grace there a little bit, to where, you do hear it sometimes, but obviously in those situations too, people will line the roads and build signs for us and thank you firefighters and give us high fives, and you know, I mean, every community you go to, there's signs everywhere. So it's really cool. And then to see when there's not smoke in the air, the stress isn't there. The public really appreciates what we do. So it's been 100%. Really good for me. It's really humbling to be out there and just talking with people and have them come to our banquet, choose to come to our banquet, choose to support our families. And then I know, all these firefighters that are here tonight, when one of them gets hurt or, at work or not at work, we know the foundation has their back right away. So that's what really matters.
Yeah, it's so seamless and so quick too. Like, when I Burke on, he was at the banquet. He's like, yeah, man, just reach out. Like, just that's what we're here for. Like, please don't drag your feet, because he knows we're all stubborn fire folks and don't like to call. Like I think I had 3 different people like call me and directly tell me to bug Burke, and I was like, nah, I think I'm all right. And then like money was getting pretty tight for that surgery, so I finally, I was like, I had a little bit of help for the hotel and some gas money. And
and
awesome.
there's only, obviously it only goes so far, but it, it's pretty immediate. I've had to make a lot of phone calls the last couple of years to Burke where people need help, and a lot of times it's, we get money in bank accounts within a handful of minutes. We're not talking days or weeks or months. It's like 15 minutes later, and they've got money in their account.
Which is incredible, because like my story, dude, because I was being so stubborn and not want to do it. I mean, I was leaving within like days to go to Mayo Clinic to get surgery on this super rare tumor, pheochromocytoma, and like, dude, like you said, that evening, dude, I got the money in my bank account so I can pay for the hotel room right next to the clinic, and pay for the gas to get there. It was incredible, dude. And I'm tear up just talking about it.
Yeah, when you can get, a couple $1,000 goes a long ways, and just, a couple minutes or a couple hours, whatever it takes to get Burke or Dina on the phone and they come in with a credit card and just make it happen. It's pretty sweet.
Yeah, shout out to Dina. She was actually the one I was going direct with. She was amazing. And
she's
like,
a rock star.
What are you waiting for? I'm like, no, I'm just,
Yeah. Well, we're all stubborn.
Yeah, and you're like, someone else needs it more. That's the idea. You're like, no, someone else is going to get more injured than me. I got this tumor. It's fine,
Yeah.
Like, it's killing me, but I'll be fine.
Yeah. Maybe rub some dirt on it.
Yeah, exactly. I'll be all right, And I was a jumper. Well, I just got done being a jumper, so I was like, I'm tough. I'm fine. I've been through worse. I hadn't, but that's what I felt like.
Yeah, exactly.
But to touch on what you were saying too, man, like when the smoke's not in the air and, stress is lower, man, like you see it, dude. You get in the community. And I used to be a little more nervous coming to like some of these events because, getting some of those like, like you gotta sit on, like, and everyone always kind of catches you in the worst sometimes. Like you're just taking a break, right? Like getting some lunch, getting some water. Like, you sit on your ass, man. There's a fire coming. You're like, dude, we need to eat too, dude.
Yeah.
Like, so you get those little moments and they just stick with you. 'Cause you're like, God damn, man, I'm working my ass off for you, And then like, so over the summer, right? Just those little, and like you said, it's not that common. It's pretty rare.
Yeah.
But over the summer though, you get a few of those, and you're just kind of like, you don't really want to go out in the public that much. But now it's totally different because you have the banquet, you have the putt and pull, and you get to interact more with the public and see like, it's more rare than even what you thought it was as a firefighter. Like, because you get out in the public and you see like 100% of the people here tonight are here to support wildland firefighters.
Yeah, they're here for our families.
Yeah.
So I mean a few of them, they're going to win some cool stuff, and they've got an awesome auction, and we're giving stuff away. I mean, that's all fun, but they're here for our families. They don't have to be here, so.
Yeah, man, it's super
pretty
cool.
Special.
Yeah, it's come a long way since I even started, dude, and it's so great to see.
Yeah.
And then that brings me kind of to another question. Is that how you ended up in D.C., man? Is it from the foundation, or how'd you end up there?
I tell people there's been a lot of questions of how I ended up. Obviously I got invited to the Oval Office and met with President Trump in June. And I just tell people I won a coloring contest.
I was wondering, dude, because I'm just on social media, but like a lot of people were. I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah.
That's Kaber with Trump.
Yeah.
It's like, dude. And then Charlie Palermo was there from Helena Hot Shots.
Yeah, Charlie and I were the lucky winners of the coloring contest.
You just colored in the lines, man.
Yeah.
Kept her in, right?
Yeah. It was just, it wasn't with the foundation. It was, official through our normal jobs with the Forest Service. So we got invited. It was just kind of a random thing that came across, and
just like, who's the 2 best looking dudes in Region 1?
I think that was it. They asked for the 2 best firefighters in Region 1, and those guys weren't available, so they picked us.
It's the next best.
Yeah. Well, I'll speak for myself. Charlie is.
Yeah, Charlie's a beast.
Awesome.
Yeah, I started when he started in fire. It was in Whitehall, and I'd been on for a few years. I got lucky, to see him kind of grow from the beginning, and he's done a great job. Yeah,
the original ask was they were looking for 5 or 6 firefighters to meet with the Secretary of Agriculture, Brooke Rollins, in D.C. We thought, at that point there would be some questions because there were some things going on, and they were looking for operational type firefighters at a certain level, And this was kind of what we were being told, and they selected, I just happened to have the right connections at the right time, and luckily I was one of the 6 that got selected. And then about a week beforehand that we were going, I got a phone call one night from a higher level official of explaining exactly what was going on, and they told me, here's the real plan, is you're being asked to go to the Oval Office to meet, with the president and be there for executive orders and some bills to be signed.
Oh, yeah.
And then at that point, they let us know that there were just 2 of us that would be attending, and they wanted us to make the choice, which I respect that with all the political stuff going on right now, because when all that was happening, I had no idea who was going to be in the Oval Office. We're not in control of anything or what anybody says, so they gave us that choice, and of course my choice was I'm honored to be in the Oval Office with the president.
Yeah, dude, I'm with you. Same, like, and you hear it like with sports and stuff too, like the hockey team, when they won the gold, there's some other people like, I don't know, like, I don't care who's in office, man, like, because when like my kids get to see the picture, like, you were the president, my kids aren't gonna know what his stuff he was doing or whoever's in the office.
How I am, and firefighting is nonpartisan.
Same.
I'm like Switzerland, man. I'm there to do the best I can and do this with the foundation on my all my spare time.
Yeah.
So I'm there. So getting asked to be with the sitting president in the Oval Office was, an honor of a lifetime for me. So it wouldn't have mattered who was president at that point for me.
That's
the answer would have been the same. It didn't matter.
Yeah, exactly. It's the invite to the Oval Office. It's not the person sitting in it. It's just going to the Oval Office, and for fire folks,
to represent fire. I mean, that's quite the honor to be there with Charlie and just to be in such a historic place.
Dude,
it was. I mean, we can kind of talk about the experience, but it was just to be there. I wish I had more time in the Oval Office to look around.
Did it feel like almost like a dream? Like, this is strange, like going from like middle of nowhere, kind of Montana.
It was very surreal because it was a quick trip. We got to D.C. We met with some high players. We were there for just a couple days, maybe 3 nights, but only 2 full days. And Senator Sheehy is one of the ones that was kind of behind all of that, and we met with him in his Capitol office in the Capitol. That's kind of their hideaway office, which was really cool. So we met with him for a while. We met with the chief of the Forest Service and associate chief and Secretary Rollins, and the day that we were going to the West Wing. We went to the East Wing the day before to check some stuff out, which was really cool again.
That's cool, man, yeah.
So the next day obviously was a day we're going to the West Wing, and we met Secretary Rollins at her office.
Yeah.
And from there, we actually got in with Secret Service and were part of her motorcade to get into the White House, which is really cool.
That is very cool.
Secret Service black Escalades or whatever.
Yeah, it'd be an honor to even just meet her, Secretary Rollins. Like,
she was super nice.
Cool. Yeah.
So we jumped in her motorcade and got into the White House, and we pulled onto the grounds and we got through a couple big gates and got to a third gate, and then they opened up the vehicles, and a big dog jumps in. I'm not sure,
sniffing around.
I'm sure, sniffing for explosives and whatnot. And then at that point we were told to jump out and go through security again. The secretary kept going with the motorcade, and we just had to go through. They obviously knew we were coming, but jumped out and went through that security, and then we went to. Then at that point, it was really surreal because we get to the door of the West Wing, and it's kind of that little driveway where you see the presidents change hands.
Yeah.
It's kind of a half circle driveway, and a Marine sitting there opening the door. And then at that point, I knew it was real when the Marine opened the door for me.
Whoa.
I'm like, man, that's really cool. And then I can't remember the name of the room. It might have been like maybe the Roosevelt room or something, but it's basically as soon as you walk in, there's some people there greeting you, and you're at that point kind of the main room in the West Wing where people are waiting to get to their appointments and whatnot.
Yeah.
And we had to wait probably for 2 or 3 hours before we got in the Oval Office. So I'm sitting in there with Secretary Rollins, Secretary of Agriculture, Brooke Rollins, Secretary of the Interior, Doug Burgum, Senator Sheehy, a couple of other congressmen, and, some pretty high people. And it was really cool. And we knew we had some time at that point, so Secretary Rollins came over and asked if we'd like to join her walking through the Rose Garden in the back. The Jackie Kennedy Rose Garden. So we got to walk out back and kind of walk right up to the main residence of the White House. And
dude, just pristine.
Yeah. It was really, I mean, you read about that stuff and you see it on TV.
Yeah.
And then being out there, and obviously they had an official photographer taking all the pictures, and so stuff we cherish. And then
dude, well, it's nuts, man. You're just hearing the stories, like a
Yeah.
couple ditch diggers like us,
yeah,
like
I'm a knuckle dragger.
yeah, same, man.
Yeah.
So it's like, whoa, a fellow knuckle dragger got to go.
Yeah.
I was like, dang.
And some of the best things is they told us what to wear. We wore Nomex and boots, and they gave us the hat to wear. And otherwise, I would have dressed up pretty nice, but they told us they wanted firefighters there.
Yeah, want the look, right?
And there's, there's some cool things that happen. As while you were waiting, there's 2 things you get to choose to drink in the waiting room. It's either water or Diet Coke. So,
Yeah,
of course, I'm like, I'll take a Diet Coke.
Yeah, that's what the president's drinking,
I'm
right?
like, when in Rome,
Yeah,
that's what he drinks, and that's literally. So I had to take a picture of the Diet Coke. I'm drinking in the West Wing.
Oh, dude, nailed it. I would have done the same thing.
Yeah, you
like
have
said.
to.
Yeah.
Like I drink lots of water, but I have a Diet Coke in the
White House.
Yeah, in the White House, getting ready to meet the president.
Yeah, dude, that's huge, man.
Yeah, it was really cool. And then,
well, whenever you look, there's history, right? Like there's, the Lincoln Room, right? And there's like old desks that, like, these, influential historic figures from our past has sat at and been around and walk through those corridors, dude.
That's actually what I really thought was. You think of the history of how many of those presidents have been in that room,
Yeah, man.
And it's, it's been, there's been some remodeling and stuff. I'm not a historian about all that, but it's mostly, kind of what it has been for a long, long time.
Yeah, the bones of it, right?
Yeah, the bones for sure, yeah. So it was really cool to think that some of those, really famous long-term old-time presidents were in the same office.
Yeah, man. Oh, see that, and that's me too. I'm a little bit of a history buff, so like, old movies and things, it's like, and you're just reading up, and all of us growing up reading history coming up, and it's like, wow, that's nuts, man. That's so cool. You got to go tread on that same ground.
And almost all the presidents have been in the White House.
Yeah.
There was a couple that weren't, like Washington, but pretty much everything from like Washington has changed a little bit, because they've had some issues there and whatnot over the years, but for the most part, all the presidents have worked out of that office.
Yeah, that's so crazy, man.
Yeah.
Very cool. And then did Trump like engage with you guys, or was it just kind of like a couple photos? Oh, really?
Yeah, we it's really funny actually. So we walked in, you walk in, there's a little reception area before you walk in, and you got to leave all your phones, smartwatches, stuff like that. You leave that on the outside of the room for obvious reasons. So drop all that off, and as soon as we walk in the room, Trump wanted to talk to the firefighters immediately.
That's awesome.
The secretary, Rollins, introduced us, and for some reason he locked in, obviously to Charlie and I, and he asked if, and I should have known that I prepared for a lot of stuff because I'd known for a week that I was going to do this. And by the way, I couldn't tell anybody that I was going to meet the president.
Oh,
I couldn't even tell my wife.
That's why everyone found out the same way, probably.
Yeah.
Through a photo.
I couldn't tell anybody. That was the request. Like, you
Yeah.
will not tell anybody. It wasn't a request. It was like, you will not tell anybody what you're doing.
Yeah, no.
So I walk in, and he looks right at me and asks if, if we're raking the forest because, Finland has got more explosive trees than California, and they rake the forest, and they don't have a fire problem. And I was a little bit, obviously, at that point, I didn't expect, and I should have probably expected that, but I was trying to formulate some sort of sentence when the president is asking you that directly.
Point blank.
Because it's kind of funny on TV, because we obviously don't go out and rake the forest.
Yeah.
We do lots of stuff.
Yeah.
But it's, his
different treatments.
Yeah, his vision of things are, different than mine, and we obviously as firefighters, we know we go out and do a lot of fuels treatment it just looks a little different. So when he asked you that, I was taken back a little bit. And Secretary Rollins came in immediately, and she like very polished, answered the questions perfectly.
Yeah.
But yeah, he engaged with us quite a bit, asking questions, and we weren't in there for an overly long time. I don't know how long it was because I didn't have my phone, but maybe 15 minutes, maybe. I don't know, to be honest. It went really fast.
I bet, dude, probably like a blink. Real quick, if I could ask you too, like, if you had time to prepare, would you have come with something like a little more witty, or what do you think you would have said if he hit you with that?
I will be honest, I was at that point. I'm like, if I answer this wrong, I'm getting fired right here.
That's exactly the pressure, man. Like, because that's my thoughts. Like, or just like, we've come a long way as an agency that we just talked about, like, our timelines. And you've been in fire a little bit longer than I have.
Yeah.
But like, it's so easy to be like, say one wrong thing, and then like, the boss of all of us is like, well, it looks like we don't really need these guys.
Yeah, and to be honest, I mean, it's kind of funny to look back and think I would have got fired, but there's no way I was getting fired because I'm, in that room, I'm very proud of what firefighters do, and given the chance, that's all of us throughout the nation, especially where we're working here in Montana. We do a tremendous amount of hazardous fuels reduction, and something that I'm personally really proud of. So it's easy for me to talk about that.
Absolutely,
and like you'd be proud of what we're doing with our communities. So come out and visit us. I would have come up probably with something like that.
Yeah, that's a great answer.
Because it's I don't have to make anything up. It's true. We have a tremendous amount of firefighters that do a lot of work, so it's easy to talk about it for me. So
yeah, and also I would imagine, because it seems like that's how it is in from my view, is that like stuff like the Banquet, the Putt and Pull, you get these community members to come out, and then like maybe in the past they didn't really think like they needed any kind of like fuels mitigation with their property and public land, and then they get to talk and like, oh man, actually that sounds like something I could actually really benefit from.
For sure.
Like, yeah, man, like we come out and do some some fuel treatment around your property,
and I'll be honest, I got the sense that he really likes firefighters. I mean, there's been a lot of that support for firefighters. There's a lot of crazy, like I said, I'm not a political person at all. There's a lot of crazy stuff going on, but there's always, in the last couple of years, there's been a tremendous amount of support for firefighters.
Yeah, man.
For firefighting and firefighters and some of the stuff they're doing. So, I did, I was right next to him, within inches of him when he was signing bills. And I looked at him, I actually gave him a challenge coin. And I said, it's an honor for me to be in here, sir. And he looked at me and said, no, it's my honor, which was really cool.
Yeah, man.
A couple of the funny stories, though, is, we were taking pictures, and I brought a Flathead National Forest challenge coin, which is just a normal challenge coin size. Yeah. And he's got these huge challenge coins on his desk. I'm not sure if you've seen a picture of one.
No.
I should send you a picture
of one. Yeah,
I'd
love to see it. It's massive.
So I hand him my normal size one, and he picks up one of his huge ones. And he picks them up, and he puts them side by side, and he looks at me. He says, looks like I'm not getting a very good deal. And then he handed me the huge challenge coin, so I've got it in my possession. I've got and then I've got one of those. Some of the folks at that point, they were getting the big beautiful bill sign, so we dubbed it the big beautiful coin.
Yes.
So I've got the big beautiful coin.
Oh man.
And everybody in there got one of those. And then when he signed the bills, it was Senator Sheehy's first bill and some executive orders that he signed, and he turned around and handed me the pen.
Whoa.
So I've got the pen, and everybody got a pen in the room too.
But this is like fresh off a signature.
I got the one he signed it with.
It's just still hot.
And I'm like, hand. Yeah, you could. I opened it and you could tell where he had written with it. I'm like, said I've never written with it since. I'm like, I should sign my name with it, but I'm like, just kind of one of those family heirloom things,
Oh, 100%, man. That was super cool.
So yeah, that was really cool to have that and and get that kind of stuff. And
yeah, because like I said, man, I mean, how many people are going to have that, like you said, family heirloom stuff? Like down the road, like, when you're passed on, the next couple generations are like going through like maybe your stuff and like, is this that pen?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
And like I said, like we talked earlier, it doesn't matter who was in the seat.
No.
It's like it was a presidential pen that got handed directly from president to you. Like
literally signed a bill into law and executive orders.
Yeah, dude.
So I've actually got a little case in the big beautiful coin.
Yes, dude.
So it's
you have some people I'd love to see it, dude.
Yeah, I will. And then I mean he was super nice when we were in there, very thankful for us. Funny.
Yeah.
you know, cracking jokes for everybody.
Which is great, man, because it's already, like, probably
Yeah.
tension's a little high. I know I would be at least, you know, like, all right, you know, I'm here representing all my people,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, and I'm trying to take it in, you know, honestly, because, I mean, yeah, the sitting president is cool to be in the room with the president, but so much history in the office. I'm trying to take it all in and be in the moment and look around. You know, I kind of wanted to, like, hey, I'm in the Oval Office. I've seen it on TV a million times. Looking around and just taking it in. I wish I could have spent, you know, 15 minutes just kind of without talking to anybody and looking around, but that's obviously not how that works.
Yeah, there's not enough time to do it. Because I'd be the same way, right? To try to, like, just catalog as much as I can in my visual memory so that, like, you can kind of go back and visit and reminisce about that stuff.
Yeah.
And you kind of hope, like, when you're phasing out of this world, like, you know, the slideshows, you know, supposedly comes back to you. Like, you get a few more slideshows from that kind of stuff, you know, in your timeline, you know?
Yeah.
Instead of just being like a campfire, because you've been on fire your whole life, you know? Like, at least for me, you know?
Exactly. So, yeah, it was a really cool experience.
Yeah.
You know, most people will never get to experience something like that. So I feel very fortunate that I was one of the ones that was able to go represent firefighters and get Nomex and boots in the Oval Office. Pretty cool.
Yeah, that's very cool, man. What an honor, dude. And you know, especially having you and Charlie, like, you know, I know you guys personally, so you know, it's maybe a little different for me, but I was like, I couldn't think of anyone better, man. I was like, dude, having you guys there I felt honored just knowing you guys.
Yeah, a lot of people, you know, because I didn't have any pictures on my personal phone because you can't bring it in there, so they got a few official pictures out pretty quick, and I sent a couple out, and most people thought it was like
Photoshopped
AI, you know, and it was so funny. So the week before we were going, like I was mentioning, I was told that you will not tell anybody. So I took that seriously, and I didn't tell anybody at all. So I was talking with all sorts of people. I'm going to D.C., and everybody jokes around. They're like, oh, say hi to the president for me. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I will, man.
Yeah, let him know.
And it's really kind of funny because I'm sitting there knowing that I'm literally going to meet with the president.
Yeah.
And they're like, say hi to him for me. I'm like, I think I will, no problem.
Yeah, I'll let him know.
Just because I'm a smart ass, you know. So.
Yeah, dude.
And then once they got the pictures, they're like, what the hell?
Yeah, jaws by the drop. Like, what?
Yeah.
He wasn't lying, man.
Yeah. So, it was really cool.
Man. Yeah, dude, I've been wanting to pick your brain on that ever since I saw the photo. I was like, I know that guy. I know that other guy too. You know, like, I was fangirling hard from my home.
Yeah, some people saw it on social media and they kind of looked at him. They're like obviously Oval Office and like standing right next to the president in the Oval Office. We thought when we went in there, at least I did, you know, up until about the day before, that, you know, most of those things or events, they have the media all over. So I didn't tell my wife. And then the night before, I was talking to Charlie at dinner. He's like, yeah, I told my wife. I'm like, I better tell my wife, because at that point, I'm like, it might be like the first thing she finds out is like I'm on Fox News in the Oval Office.
Yeah,
like, I better at least warn her.
Yeah, she's like, what else you been hiding from me?
Yeah, exactly. Well, she was actually, I mean, she's here tonight, but she was telling me, she called me out like 3 or 4 days before the Washington trip, and she's like, you're acting really weird about this trip.
Yeah,
I'm like, yeah, I am. I understand I am.
Yeah.
I will explain later, but I can't tell you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so then when I told her later, she's like, oh, yeah, I get it.
Yeah, checks out.
Yeah, exactly. I was a little, I mean, it's a little, you know, it's anticipation, and, you know, I was excited, but it's also a little stressful, you know.
Oh, yeah, man. Well, that female intuition's pretty strong, man. Like, you know, they feel things and
she knew
size things
something
up.
was up.
Yeah, man.
And, you know, because, you know, those schedules change so fast. Like, you can be told you're doing this, and in a blink of an eye, like, you guys aren't going anywhere near there.
Yeah, totally. And the president gets shipped off to somewhere for something super important. You're like, oh, guess maybe next time.
It's not like I'm a priority, you know. Not like I'm giving them advice on anything. But
yeah, exactly, man. But, you know, helping push the Wildland Firefighter, you know, like, you know, way of life to him, which is great.
Yeah.
Well, I'm so glad you got to go do it, dude. And honored that it was you.
Yeah, it was cool. Yeah, I'm glad it was me too.
Yeah, man. Yeah, well, because, you know, like, for me too, it's like, just, you know, back to the Banquet kind of thing, just seeing the work you guys have done and getting to know you over the last few years, like, That shit doesn't happen on accident, man. Like,
No.
you got to put the work in, and you guys are, like you said, in the community, active. And it's just like thinning, right? Like, people see Wildland Firefighters, and they see like the work we do in the summer because that's the sexy stuff, right? We're on the fire line, we're saving houses, we're doing all the things, working our ass off, cutting, burning trees, all the cool things, which is why a lot of us got into the job. But then, like you said, on the off-season stuff, it's like we're doing all the fuel mitigation stuff and working with the public and doing all these other things that people don't see to try to prevent that next hellacious fire coming through a community. And then on top of that, getting to work in the community and gather everybody for the banquet. So, like, dude, you're doing such a big impact for wildland firefighters, man. I thank you for it, dude.
Yeah, well, it's not just, it's
well, you got a team, but
it's the huge team. I mean, the people I work with are great, and there's so many people doing so much stuff, and
totally, and that's what I kind of mean, like the chapter itself, like you especially, but also the chapter, but that's why it's good that you went there, because you have a really close relationship with the public, with doing the foundation stuff, and like the banquet and all the other fundraisers you guys do throughout the year, because you guys do like some stuff, just like some other raffles right outside the banquet, don't you? Or?
Yeah, we do a lot of stuff. I mean, we're at almost all the bigger community functions throughout the winter, starting in December through the banquet time. And we actually had the Bozeman Running Company this year, a guy named Casey Germain, one of my long-term teammates, Robin Germain's brother-in-law. I don't know if you know Robin and Cody out of Plains, Montana, but their brother Casey owns Bozeman Running Company, and they did a run for us this year in Bozeman.
Dude.
And they sent us a check, and I actually went down there and just kind of helped for the day, because they're doing it for us. So I just went and kind of tried to fit in where I could, and they sent us a check for $10,000, and then which is a huge amount.
That's a lot.
And then, probably some breaking news, but right now we're planning on expanding to Bozeman to have a banquet next spring. We're in talks. We're going to do it at Bridger Aerospace, the hangar.
Awesome.
We're going to do it underneath the scoopers. We don't have the dates down, but we're working on that. It'll probably be in April after the putt and pull, late April, early May.
What a great spot.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's some people that are excited about helping. I'm kind of, if any of your listeners are looking to jump in and help, we want you to be in Bozeman.
Reach out. I mean, and the Flathead Chapter Wildland Firefighter Foundation, is that the best route you think? Or?
Yep. Look me up or go to flatheadwff.org. Send us an email, and then our flatheadwff@gmail.com. Send me a message, and we're gonna blow the top off of Bozeman. We have some really big partnerships down there already. So, and they're kind of from their recommendation, like, you guys need to do this in Bozeman. And we've been talking about it for a couple years, but it takes a lot to pull it off. And really, the only thing missing right now is that big team of volunteers. I'm going to try to take as many of the Flathead and, other people that are running the Flathead chapter, but we're going to expand down there, and also in talks with maybe doing one in Billings as well. So we'll see what we can do. I mean, it all comes down to time, but
yeah, totally, man.
Yeah.
And you only have so much of it, so trying to, like you were saying, man, delegate some opportunities,
Yeah, it just it takes people that are super dedicated.
It does, man.
Because you have to follow through. It is a lot of work. It's fun. But
just build the foundation too, right? You get the blueprint going, and then it's a little easier every year, I would imagine, right?
And that's what our banquet on the Flathead is still a tremendous amount of work. We have some team members up there like Jim Flint and Angela Wonders and Matt Counts and Tiffany Counts and a bunch of our guys, Clint Dean and Yuri Kazuki, and there's just a bunch of them that put in just a tremendous amount of time. Lincoln Shoot.
Yeah. Dude, great folks. They all, and like when I was up there, dude, they all came up to introduce themselves and talk a little shop with me, and just made me feel like I was part of the family. It was awesome, dude. Yeah,
Jeremy Harker. I mean, it's all just an interagency thing. So, I mean, I could never do anything even close to by myself. I run a small part of it, and everybody else has their jobs, and, some of them really put on the big show. So we want to take that blueprint and just take it to Bozeman. So, kind of have a lot of things figured out to be a different venue, but if we can take that, the big workload will be getting that community in tune with what we're doing and get them behind us. And just talking with some of the big businesses down there, and there's some big partnerships down there already, like I mentioned. And once you get them behind your back, it's just it'll take and run with it.
100%, man. And just like off the cuff, just like thinking about it, every town in Montana is a big outdoorsy town, group of folks. Like whether it's like hunting or just recreation or both. Right? Most people are also hunters, and I think Bozeman's a big part of that, right? A lot of skiers, a lot of outdoor enthusiasts, a lot of hunters.
For sure.
And all those people have the one thing in common: they don't want fire to go ruin their special place.
That's the thing. I mean, wildfire affects everybody.
Everybody,
it's
man.
It's a community problem, whether it's smoke or flames or their favorite spot, houses in the urban interface. It affects everybody, and honestly, firefighters need help.
Yeah, 100%.
And their families need help. When we get hurt, we need help, and the Wildland Firefighter Foundation is the place that helps us. So
absolutely, man. And that's what I was kind of getting at too, is like the best way you could help support is through events like that.
Yes.
And like especially some place like Bozeman that's a very avid outdoor community, man. It's like, I think once the word's out, I think it's really going to do well,
Yeah, when we have big fires, people show up, they want to give us food and Gatorade and stuff, but we have all that, which is obviously great for them to say that, but really, if the public wants to support, this is how they do it. Is just come. I mean, come to the banquet when we're in town, whether it's in Kalispell or if we're able to get a couple others going. Just show up.
Absolutely, man.
Come down and grab a meal, and you don't have to. If you don't have any money to bid on auction items, that's okay. It's a community thing. We just want you to show up and come support, and then the money will follow.
100%, man. Yeah, come network, come be part of the family. Like that's a big part of it. Just come be part of the family with us. We're taking everybody.
Exactly.
Just come hang out, man. It's a great time. And if you got some like you said, some money you can donate or auction items or whatever, like that's huge benefit. But yeah,
exactly.
just happy to have everybody involved. And I think it also does a great job of showing that we're just caring, compassionate outdoorsmen ourselves. Like that's why we got in this job, is to be able to work outdoors and help save our communities, man. Like,
yeah, certainly not for the money.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll tell you that. It's not for the fame and the fortune. That's not why I got into it.
Yeah,
it's because I got to be outside, and I'm a hunter and a fisherman, and want to be outside, and been doing it now for almost 30 years, and kind of getting on the older end of things, but
100%, man. Yeah, I'm recording this on a GoPro Hero 4. Like I'm on a tight budget.
Exactly.
But it's like, helping get the word out is like what I love doing, man, and having people like you on, dude. So, well, I won't keep you, man. The banquet's going on.
Yeah, I'm gonna go try to get it on the auction there.
Yeah,
Here's Zane selling things right now, so go out there and get my hand up a little bit. Try to raise some more money.
Absolutely,
well,
man.
Cool. Well, thanks,
Justin,
Luke.
thanks for coming on, brother. Appreciate the hell out of you.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
Yeah, man. Get in here for. Oh, yeah, dude. And thank you, folks, for tuning in.